Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. Today, we will start a new chapter that is environment and natural resources. Uh, Under this chapter, we will discuss uh, many of the environmental movements and what is the cause of these movement, what is the uh, problem of environment, and especially the situation, the concern regarding the environment changed after 1960, and these will be discussed. Then there will be discussion of common property and global commons, and apart from these, what we will discuss under this chapter is India's effort in the direction of environmental protection. And then there is a discussion of geopolitics of resource competition also. And in the last, there will be discussion of indigenous people. uh, uh, what do we mean by indigenous people, their problems, and how they are being marginalized in today's world. All these will be discussed under this chapter. So, the first thing is environmental concern in global politics. How world politics is related with environment. So, in this book, we have discussed world politics in a fairly limited sense: war and treaties, rise and decline of state power, the relationship between the government that represent their countries in the international arena, and the role of international governmental organizations. So, in this book, we have discussed all these things, how the state power rose and how it declined. Then was relationship between the governments who are the members of the international organization. Then in the last chapter, we under the world politics, we included many issues, new issues. You can say the issues which are not considered to be the concern of world politics earlier. It used to be out of the concern of world politics, and these issues were poverty, health epidemics, migration. All these things were discussed under security. So we can see that the scenario or the thinking of the world politics is changing now. Our focus is not only on political matters. Earlier, uh, world politics was related to only political matters, but nowadays there is a shift in the focus. Now our focus is more on social issues, and then geographical issues, then environmental issues. They have become very important. uh, Up to now, it is the opinion of the people that government is responsible only for maintaining law and order, only to make our boundaries secure from the external attack, and these are the main concern of world politics. Now, uh, we are we have shifted our focus. Now we are more concerned with the issues which are related to society, which are related to environment and geography. So, in this, we can think upon some of the facts which I am reading for you. It is in your book. Throughout the world, cultivable area is barely expanding anymore, and a substantial portion of existing agricultural land is losing fertility. Grasslands have been overgrazed and fisheries overharvested. Water bodies have suffered extensive depletion and pollution severely uh, restricting food production. So this is the problem, which is if we uh, look at this problem, what we consider at first thought, it will be our thinking that this type of problem has nothing to do with the world politics. Cultivable area is not expanding. Moreover, what area is under agriculture, what area is under cultivation, that is also losing its fertility. Then grasslands are overgrazed, fisheries are overharvested. So there is a pressure on all the aspects of environment. And this pressure is because of growing population. And what we think that these are the problems which are not connected with world politics. Now we are considering the second fact. According to the Human Development Report of 2016 of United Nations Development Program, 663 million people in developed countries have no access to safe water, and 2.4 billions have no access to sanitation, resulting in the death of more than 3 million children everywhere. So this is the report of UNDP, in which it said that in the year 2016, 663 million of people were not able to were not having access to safe drinking water, and there were many who do not have access to sanitation. And because of these conditions, what was the consequence of these conditions? That more than 3 million children die every year. So this is the one of the another problem which we consider that this is not associated with world politics. It is something which is related with human development only. Now we take into consideration the third fact: natural forest, which help stabilize forest, which help stabilize the climate, moderate water supplies, and harbor a majority of the planet's biodiversity biodiversity of land are being cut down, and people are being displaced. The loss of biodiversity continues to the destruction of habitat in areas which are rich in species. So what we find that natural forest, because of these natural forests, what happens that the climate is stabilized, water cycle, it completes the water cycle also, and because of that, our life is easy. Our life are we are getting all the important ingredients, all the important needs of our life easily. And But what is happening that this forest is being cut down, deforestation is done at a large scale, and because of this deforestation, the problem of climate is creating global warming is uh, problem. The problem of global warming has arose to such an extent that the existence of a human has become very in a danger. There is danger to the existence of a human being because of this global warming, and the main reason of this global warming is deforestation. So these are all the problems of deforestation. And with deforestation, another problem is associated that because of deforestation, people have to displace, and they face a lot of problems at new places. Then what happens that loss of biodiversity is also there. When forests are cut in large scale, at large scale, then there is loss of biodiversity also. So these are the problems of the people today. So then another statement, another fact is a steady decline in the total amount of ozone in the Earth's stratosphere, commonly referred to as the ozone hole, poses a real danger to the ecosystem and human health. Then this is another environmental concern. You all know about ozone hole. At the stratosphere, there is a hole in the that level of the atmosphere, and that is posing a danger to human health, and the whole ecosystem is in danger because of this hole. Then another one is coastal pollution too is increasing globally. Although the open sea is relatively clean, the coastal waters are becoming increasingly polluted, largely due to land-based activities. If unchecked, intensive human settlement of coastal zones across the globe will lead to further deterioration in the quality of marine environment. So, what is the problem? The problem is that mainly the coastal area are getting polluted because of land-based activities, because coastal areas are connected with the land, and because of human activities on land, these coastal areas are becoming highly polluted, and this is a problem which is global in nature. Okay, so what we find, the problems we have discussed, all the problems are global in nature. It is not confined to any one country. If we say we are saying the problem of cultivable area, it is the problem of all the countries, of all the it is not connected to any particular country. It is not that only one country is suffering from this problem. Then the problem of access of safe drinking water or sanitation. This is also the problem of the whole. If only the countries of people of developing countries are facing this problem, then the developed countries are also face the effect in any manner or another. So all these problems, if we talk about deforestation, if we talk about ozone layer, hole in the ozone layer, if we talk about coastal pollution, these all are global in nature. They are not associated with a single country. And the most important thing that though because of its nature, because it is global in nature, all the countries are facing the problem. There is only difference in the degree of the problem. So what is important, how this problem can be solved? This problem can be solved only through international cooperation. Okay, so these are the things which have become very much important in political science, in world politics, because though if we see it lightly, what we feel that these are the topics which are concerned with geography only, with environmental science only, but no, they are very much relevant in political science also. If the various government take steps to check environmental degradation of the kind mentioned above, these issues will have political consequences in that sense. Because whatever problem is there, a country is facing whatever problem, how that problem will be solved. In order to solve the problem, be it environmental problem, be it geographical problem, be it agricultural problem, whatever is the nature of the problem, that problem can be solved only by the mm, mm, activities of the government. Government is only bring solution to these problems, and when government involves, the matter becomes political. Okay, most of them are such that no single government can address them fully, and it is also important that the government will is responsible to solve the problems which are related to environment, which are related to geography. But what we find that a single government is not able to solve these type of problem, because in that context, what is required, that the government need to work in collaboration with other countries. The government need to work in collaboration with the government of other countries also, and in this way it becomes a matter of world politics. It becomes a part of world politics. So issues of environment and natural resources are political in another deeper sense. If we look at these problems in a lighter manner, then they will appear to be the matter of geography, the matter of environment, but in a deeper sense, they are all connected to world politics. Because who are the people who causes environmental degradation? Who pays the price? If people are causing environmental degradation, then what who is paying the price for that degradation? The price is also being paid by the people. So who is responsible for taking corrective action? If people are paying the price, if people are suffering because of that environmental degradation, then people are responsible for taking corrective action. Who is going to take corrective action? People. So who gets to use how much of the natural resources of the earth? All these raise the issue of who wields how much power. They are therefore deeply political question. So what we find that in the main thing is that the people are involved in all these things. The problem is created by the human being. The problem, because of that problem, the suffering is felt by the human being, and now the effort to solve that problem should also be done by human being. But in this context, what we find that some people are more responsible for that type of environmental degradation, and some people are less responsible for that type of environmental degradation, and according to that contribution, the consequences should be fixed. So all these problems are studied under world politics. Environmental concerns have a long history. Awareness of the environmental consequences of economic growth acquired an increasingly political character from the 1960s onwards. You must understand that environmental concern was there. People were concerned, when there were many people who were concerned for the environment. They were of the view that the environment should be protected. But what happened from 1960s, that the concern of people regarding the environment uh, increased very much. And it increased, why it increased so much? It increased so much that what we find that because of economic growth, because of industrial growth, what happened that the environment was facing degradation. The environment was becoming degraded because of economic growth, which was taking place in almost all the countries of the world. And because of this industrial growth, what happened that the concern of the people increased towards the environment, and it started taking a political character. Before 1960s, we find that there was no such concern for the environment, and the political form was started to take place in 1960s only. First of all, the Club of Rome, that was a global organization. It published a book in 1972, which was the name of the book was Limits to Growth. It the book deals with the consequences of economic and industrial growth. Whatever countries are doing in order to grow their economy, in order to advancement in industries, all these things are causing a lot of problem in the uh, field of environment. And this all was uh, published in a form of book that was Limits to Growth, that dramatized the potential depletion of the earth's resources against the backdrop of rapidly growing world population. On the one hand, what we find that the world population is also increasing was also increasing at a very great rate, and on the other hand, the industrial advancement was also taking place on the large scale. So both these issues are connected to each other. Because of growing population, what happens, the need also grows, and in order to fulfill those needs, what is required, a high economic growth rate is required by the country. And in order to achieve that high economic growth rate, industries are grown, and in this way it leads to environmental degradation. So all these problems started to manifest itself from the manifestation was there, but people were not giving attention to these problems, and it has not taken a global attention up to this 1960s. After that, they started concern for this uh, environmental degradation, and the first step was this book, that was Limits to Growth. Then we find that international agencies like United Nations Environmental Program, it began holding international conferences and promoting detailed studies to get a more coordinated and effective response to environmental problems. We have discussed earlier also that United Nations work through different agencies, and one of such agency is United Nations Environment Program. And these agencies, what they started in the direction of protection of environment, they started holding international conferences so that the focus of the world can be drawn towards the problem of environment. And they also promoted how to solve this problem. It is very important that environmental problems should get attention of the uh, world countries. But at the same time, it is also important that not only we have to give attention, but we have to find out a solution. And for that solution, what is required, the requirement is coordination and cooperation among different countries. And since then, the environment has emerged a significant issue of global politics. So now from 1960s, the environment has taken a prominent place, a significant place in global politics, because up to now it has become clear that the environment has degraded to such an extent that if any effort is not done at the global level, then the problem will cause uh, trouble to the existence of human only. So it needs attention of the whole world. And in this way, the matter of environment became a major concern of world politics. The growing focus on environmental issues within the arena of global politics was firmly consolidated at United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in June 1992. So the it was first of its kind, first conference of its kind, which were held in Brazil in June 1992, which is also called Earth Summit. And in this conference was held by United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. It was held under the aegis of United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. So these are very important things, and you must remember under whose aegis this Earth Summit was held. It was United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. And where was it held? It was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in June 1992. And this was also called Earth Summit. The summit was attended by 170 countries. thousands of NGOs, and many multinational corporations. This was the they are the participants of the summit. 5 years earlier, the 1987 Brundtland Report, Our Common Future, has warned that traditional patterns of economic growth were not sustainable in the long term. So we see that so many effort at global level has started. 1972 Club of Rome published the book that was Limits to Growth. Then in 1987 there was a Brundtland Commission was there, which published its report, and that report was titled Our Common Future. You must pay attention to the title. It's our common future. It's not about the future of one country, or the future of one region, or the future of one continent, but the report is about the future of the all human being, future of the whole world. And in this report it was warned that the way we are adopting the economic growth, the way we are going for achieving the high rate of economic growth, uh, that way is not sustainable. What is the meaning of, you must be knowing these words, because for the last 4 years. It started from eighth. These words are, you are used to know these words. Sustainable is to in order to conserve our resources in such a manner that our present needs of present generations are also fulfilled, but we should also take care of the needs of the future generation. We are not supposed to use the resources in such a manner that the present generation will fulfill all their needs. They will not use the resources in an economic manner, in a reasonable manner, and in this way all the resources will be used up by the present generation, and we have nothing to give to our future generation. That is not sustainable. We are the development which is not going to sustain for long, but we are supposed to adopt such policies of economic development which should be sustainable, which should sustain for the future generation also. So this is the concern which was presented by the Brundtland report of 1987, and in this report it was said that the way we are adopting, the way we are going for economic growth is not sustainable in the long term. And here, one thing you can see here, in the long term, especially in view of the demands of the South for further industrial development. So, in this, what does it mean, South? The whole world can be is divided into two parts, the South and the North. And what is seen that the South is undeveloped. They are developing countries. The south of the globe consists of developing countries, and the north of the globe is consist of developed countries. In north, there are those countries which are where, for example, the industrial revolution started in Britain. It was started in 18th century, and their people are engaged in industrial activities for the last 200 years. Okay, and likewise other western European countries, America, all these countries, Russia, all these countries are involved in industrial activities for the last so many years, more than 100 years. They are all are engaged in economic activity. They all are engaged in industrial activities, and because of those industrial activities, what happened that the environment has become more and more. The condition of environment has become more and more bad. It has become worse because of the industrial growth which was adopted by these developed countries. Okay, so these developed countries are the north, and the south, which are the south of the globe, the countries which are developing. For mostly those countries which have become independent after the Second World War, countries of Asia, countries of Africa, countries of Latin America are considered to be a part of south of the globe. So they are the developing countries. So what is the problem? You must clear all these things very well in your mind, that the countries which are considered to be which are in the south, mostly they are located in the south of the globe. What is the problem with these countries? That they have they became independent after 1950, after the Second World War, around 1945-50 they became independent, and after getting independence, the industrial growth, the industrial advancement started to take place from 1950 onwards in these countries. So they are the countries which are developing, because there the process of development, the process of industrial development started late because of colonial rule, because these countries were under the colonial rule of the Western developed countries. So in these countries, the development work, the industries related work started late. So what we feel, that there is a need of more and more industrial activities in the south of the globe. But in the north of the globe, what is the situation? The situation is this, that these countries are completely developed countries, and in these countries industrial activities are taking place for the last 200 years. So they don't they are more responsible for this kind of they are more responsible for the degradation of environment. They have contributed more in the degradation of the environment if we compare their contribution in the degradation and with the contribution of developing countries in the process of degradation of environment. The developing countries have contributed a very less part in degrading the environment, because they have become independent hardly 70 years before, and their process of industrialization started after that only. So, and they are still developing, they still need industrial activities, they still need industries to grow at a high rate so that they can become a developed country. So it is said that the south is in uh, need of industrial development. There is we cannot uh, stop the industrial activities in south. So this is the divide of south of and north according to the development level, and we see that both the part of the globe are differently responsible for the degradation of the environment. Now I am stopping the discussion here, and yeah, tomorrow we will continue this. Okay.